Hi guys, my name is Nolan Navarro, and this is for my Capstone project. I'm going to be doing a podcast of basic stuff. We're going to be talking about stuff like depression and poverty, and not just that. I figured there had to be some sort of correlation between depression and poverty because obviously depression isn't only directed to one specific group of people, but I feel like if you are in a lower income state, you are more prone to be depressed. Today we'll be talking about, why I wanted to do this topic. We'll be talking a little bit about me, talking a little about, the topic itself and about stuff like that. So let's get started. So, as many of you guys know, my name is Nolan, of course. I recently turned 18 and I have not been diagnosed with depression, but I have noticed myself with symptoms of depression. And I don't want to necessarily call myself depressed or anything, but I have been through a lot of stuff that, I wouldn't doubt if I was. I am a, how you say, a person that had my up and downs, and I feel like I'm really resilient to the world, and I understand a lot now. So, I necessarily didn't grow up in the best situation. Was I was raised around not necessarily the best people. And I want to say that they're bad people, but I feel like I was around people that weren't, how you say, making the right decisions. And of course, I love my family, and I'll never change them for the world. But it was obvious, that my reality was not anywhere near someone else's reality, and it has formed me into a person that that how you say, I'm a resilient person, but I'm also a very emotional person. I can be a freaking a jerk sometimes, but in reality, I am a really caring person, and I care about a lot of stuff. I grew up around a lot of, how do you say, I grew up in the ghetto. I grew up moving around a lot, and I grew up in areas where I had to fend for myself pretty much. I there was times where my mom didn't really care enough about me. I don't want to say she didn't care about me, but she was going through her own stuff, and she was worried about her own stuff. My mom has been battling with depression, PTSD for almost her whole life, so I don't believe she was ready to have a child. But as we were saying, I grew up in an area where I wasn't in the best situation. I remember having to break into houses and stealing food because I had nothing to eat, or I remember doing stuff where even to this day I'm not that proud of, just so I can have something, so I can eat. I was a young kid, so I didn't know if I was what I was doing was wrong or right. Actually, let me correct that. I did know what I was doing, and I knew that what I was doing was not right, and I did not want to live like that for the rest of my life. I wanted something different for me. I wanted a different life for me. I do not believe that just because you come from a certain part of the world doesn't necessarily make you, or how you say, destined to be a bad person. You know, because I've myself had done a lot of bad things, but I'm aware that I've done those bad things, and I've learned to forgive myself. You know, um, but throughout the years, I grew up um missing a lot of stuff. I grew up wondering why did these things have to happen. I grew up probably 4 or 5 years of my life homeless pretty much. I ain't have a home to call myself. I ain't have anything to call myself pretty much. I used to run down the streets and freaking sandals, and flip flops that my mom gave me, and I didn't even have sneakers, So even at that age, I was like 10, 11 years old. I felt sad, I felt confused. I didn't understand exactly why I felt this way. I understood, why do these kids get more than I do, or why do these kids, have nicer clothes than I do, or why does this have to happen? Why did that happen? Why does my mom care enough about me to, get straight so we can be better, because my life has been a roller coaster pretty much, There were moments where we did really, really well, and there were moments where we did really, really bad, We were homeless for a long time, but at the same time, year before, we had a nice house. My mom had two nice cars. My mom, my family has been through literally ups and downs. Like my life has been a total roller coaster. And this as a little kid, I wasn't very, how you say, aware. I thought I was aware, but I wasn't as aware as I am now. When I was younger, I thought everything was my mom's fault. And, in part it probably was, but I could never blame her for any of that, because even though she struggled, she made sure, or she did her best to make sure I was happy. Even if we weren't in the best living situations, even if we weren't, the richest people or whatever, my mom made sure I was, how you say, hap- happy, you know. And I've talked to my mom recently about our past, how things happen and why things were, and she even told me, Nolan, um, and that the things how things were before, I I I I didn't think anyone was on my side, and even my son looked like he was turning his back on me, pretty much. And I'm like, oh damn, mom, I'm sorry, like now I look back at all those times, where I really said some messed up things to my own mother, and I don't, that's something I had to learn to forgive myself with, and I had to ask for forgiveness for my mom, even though I was a young kid, and I I was pretty much brainwashed by my stepmom, saying, that or by a lot of people, that, no one really cared. No one really cared about me except for them, If they can't provide me with, shoes, if they can't provide me with clothes, if they can't provide me with food, then that means they don't care about you. That was like the message I was given by other people, pretty much. So I believe, my mom obviously doesn't care about me. I don't have the nicest sneakers. I don't have the nicest clothes. I don't have any of this. So I was using a freaking regular. How you say? My uncle had gave me his Xbox, and I used to have a. How you say? This was like during the time where the newest Xbox came out, and I was still using the first Xbox. So I felt like, why do I get less? My cousins that they had a how you say, a whole family. They had their mom, their dad, and everybody. Everybody worked. They had the newest games. They had the newest clothes, the newest sneakers, the cleanest stuff. And I was over here sleeping in the basement pretty much. With the bed on the ground and nothing to my name except for you know how you say, a toy that I had to use my imagination. And obviously, I'm not gonna, fault my past into, say, oh yeah, because of this, I can't do this. I'm never gonna say that. I'm a type of person to say, all right, this happened. How can I make myself better from it? How can I better myself, or what what can I learn from this situation? Pretty much, I'm not a type of person, or maybe I'll regret what I did in the moment, or I'll be spiteful about what happened in the moment, but throughout time, I'll think about my actions. I'll think about um what I did or what happened exactly, and think, well, how can I better myself? And this also moves on to when I was in a relationship. When I was in a relationship, I So actually, before you get into the relationship, so at around age 12, I got taken away from my mom. My mom was hit with neglect, you know, that she was neglecting me and that she didn't care about me or whatever. And so I had to go with my father. I moved in with my father thinking, life's gonna be so much better. My dad has money. My dad can, my dad can buy me pretty much anything he can. And in reality, it wasn't that. In reality, I found myself still feeling that same empty feeling I felt when I was with my mom. And if anything, I felt emptier. I felt as if, I messed up. I felt as I made my mom feel bad and that I wasn't giving my mom, the love like she deserved. So I remember growing, I was 13, 14 years old. I remember when I was sitting there. I was sitting there and this song came on. Eminem had was made an apology to his mother because he used to, diss his own mom, and then how you say, he felt bad about it in the future. So he wrote a whole song apologizing to her, and everything he said in that song, I felt. Everything he said about his mom in that song, I felt, and it hit me hard. I remember sitting there listening to that song and crying. I cried my eyes out, and I was just bawling, and I was just bawling. And I was like, what did I do? What happened? And I started reminiscing on the past and how, my mom used to, like in the moment you don't think about the good things you have, pretty much. In the moment you don't think about, hey, even if I don't got this, I got this. And even if I don't have the newest things, my mom still cares about me, or I still have my mother, I still have this, a family pretty much. Because at this point, my family was broken to the point to no repair. And it hurt me, it hurt me deeply. But, this brings me to a fact, to an idea of like, does poverty or do you think poverty caused depression? Because even if I had the newest clothes, even if I had the newest sneakers, even if I had the best phone, if I had everything in the world, I still felt alone. I still felt sad because I didn't have the love of my mom. I didn't have, the family that was behind me. The only person I had was pretty much with my dad, and he was always at work. And every time I wanted an escape of that feeling, I would go to my dad, but that wouldn't be an everyday thing because he had to work. You know. So this brings me to the question: does poverty have any correlation between depression, or can someone come from poverty and go into a decent, how you say, home and still not be happy? You know, I'm over here 10, 11 years old, 12 years old already, sad thinking about things that I shouldn't be thinking about. I pretty much had to grow up at a young age. And it's something where I wish sometimes I wish my life was a little bit easier, but at the same time I wish my life was exactly the same as it was now, because without the experiences I've had, without the things I've dealt without all the things I had to fight with myself, with others, I wouldn't be the person I am today. And I leave you with this: money doesn't bring happiness. You could be the richest person in the world and still be sad. There's a lot of rappers now that they have all the money in the world, and when they were broke, they thought they'd be, if I had this money, or if I did this with this much money, if I had this car or whatever, and they come out sad at the end. I I was on YouTube the other day, and I saw this video. It was about Little Pump. You know who Little Pump is? Little Pump on the exterior on Instagram. He's this crazy wild guy. He's annoying. He does this. He's crazy. But this man's talking about I'm gonna die soon. This dude has money. This dude can buy whatever he wants in this world. He can do whatever he wants. He can get away with a lot, because he has money. But he's still, depressed. He's still there's still something bothering him that even with all that money, he's still not happy, you know. So, this has always brought a question to me, like I sometimes will sit down and think about it, and it's a topic where I genuinely enjoy talking about because I've dealt with it and I've witnessed a lot of people go through it. And depression isn't a joke, and it's something where nowadays is like this new vibe, this new thing to just where it's cool to be depressed, and a lot of artists feed off of these teenagers' sadness or depression, and they make music where they try to appeal to these people, even if they don't feel it. And obviously, a lot of them don't succeed with it, and some do. No, not gonna lie, some do, but a lot of them don't. And the thing is, when one hears a person talking about something they're going through, you can tell when someone is actually going through that or has went through it before. Because if it's obviously as this person didn't go through it, you're not gonna feel. You can't feel what they're going through. You can't relate to them because they ain't go through what you went through. And you ain't go through what they went through. And I've been through enough where I can relate to a lot of stuff, even even if I didn't go with something directly to it. I can relate to a lot because I've been through a lot. I've been in the ringer. I've been. I'm not gonna say that much, but I've been through a lot of stuff. So when I have friends come to me say, Nolan, I need your help. This is happening to me or this is bothering me. Da da da. And I listen. I sit and listen because when I was going through it, no one sat down to listen to me. No one cared enough to listen to me, and I was on my own. And even if I did talk to somebody, I felt as they didn't understand. Even if they wanted to understand, they couldn't understand because it's not something they went through. I've talked to many teachers about it. I've talked to many guidance counselors about it, but at the end, they I felt nothing about it. I felt nothing new about it because it was obvious that they didn't know what was going on. They couldn't relate. They couldn't put two and two together because their lives weren't as no messed up as mine. And obviously, this is not to like downfall, bring these people down or anything, but it's just sometimes when you want to talk to somebody that you really really want to talk to about, you really want to open up to this person. When you open up, there is just like you get dry responses or whatever, and then you feel bad because you feel like this person doesn't care. It's not necessarily because they don't care. It's just simply because they don't understand, and they can't understand even if they want to. And I'm not gonna say that people don't care about you or whatever, but people do care. They just don't know how to show it. And even if they don't care, some want to care, or some want to understand, some want to, but they can't because they don't know how. They haven't been through it. They haven't understood it. This is a thing where I also get mad at, or not get mad at, but when I talk to somebody like a psychologist or someone, I sometimes I gotta ask them if they've been through anything. 'Cause, I gotta ask them what they're going through or what they went through. So when I sit down and talk to them, I can be know that when I tell this person what I what I'm gonna tell them is that they understand. I don't want to just talk and talk and basically just talk to a wall. So I'm about to get into like bullying. You know, my little brother has came to me recently that he's been getting bullied a lot, or he doesn't feel how you say necessarily included, and that people bother him or people make fun of him. And I understand, because I went through it, like when I was in sixth grade and seventh grade, kids would step on my shoes, kids would make fun of my haircut or whatever, little stupid things like that. Where now it doesn't really affect me or really doesn't bother me. Probably low key does bother me, but there's nothing on the surface level. And I try to talk to my brother, I try to tell him, Jeremy, I understand what you're going through, bro. Like, cause when I sit down and I see him and he talks to me, I see myself when I was at his age. I see a troubled kid, a confused kid who, when he doesn't understand exactly why things happen or how things happen. He just knows that one day he was with my mom and the next day he was with my dad. He thought he was gonna go back, but it's sad to say that it didn't work that way, even if we wanted to. And it's obvious it bothers him. And now my brother is fiending. My brother craves for this love that he used to have from his mom. My brother wants someone to care about him. That's why I remember one day he was telling me about how this little girl just broke his heart or something and broke up with him, and he was so devastated, and it hurt me so much to see him like that. It hurt me so much to know, like my brother just needs someone to hug. And I hugged him, I hugged him and I hugged him strong and I told him, Jeremy, I love you, my little brother, and no matter what in this world, no matter what happens in this world, I'm always gonna love you. This also goes to a point, when you're down, people are gonna notice when you're down, and they might kick you when you're laying on the ground, not breathing. They'll kick you and they'll keep kicking you until and what are you gonna do? You're already down on the ground. It's not like you're gonna fall anymore. You're getting kicked and you're getting kicked and you're already on the ground. And they might be going through their own things. So when they finally see someone that's lower, you know, I want to say, less than you or anything, but when they find someone that they think that they're better than, they want to make sure this person feels as bad as possible. You know, and honestly, I would like to talk to some of these kids and understand why. Why is it that what is it about that makes you feel good about making other people feel bad? Because myself, I may joke around or whatever, but if I make someone feel bad, I'll feel bad. I can't. I would never want to make someone feel bad, or even if someone is feeling bad, I will try my best to make them feel better. But that's me. I'm a pleaser. I'm not a. I'm a person. Where I'll do whatever for someone to make them happy. So they go through a lot of stuff. A lot of people go through a lot of stuff, and I just want to understand. Why would people want to do this? Cause the bullying rates in the U.S. is pretty high. Obviously, let's look up the bullying rates right now. The bullying rates in school. almost every, almost one out of every four students is being bullied, and this is only what is reported. One fourth, one kid out of four kids is being bullied. You could line up a group of 20 people, and at least five of them are being bullied. It doesn't, it could be something simple as their hair, or something as drastic as someone making fun of them for their color, or for their, the way they talk. They maybe call them gay or whatever. And, it hurts, because myself, even if I grew up in a bad situation, I was doing bad things when I got to school, people made fun of me, because I told you I would run around in the sandals, and even when I had shoes, it'd be one of those cheap shoes, you get from Payless for like $15, and kids would make fun of that. And when I did end up getting nice shoes, kids envied it, kids envied it and would step on them. And, it's crazy, I just wish people would were more open-minded about things. I just people would understand, that bullying isn't necessarily is never the answer to anything. You know, um, what else can we talk about? So a lot of people think that just because you know something happens, you know, a lot of people have told me this. A lot of people think where they can use excuses. They want to use excuses to why they're not up to par as they should be. I have my cousins tell me, I'm from the streets, I can do whatever I want, I'm from the streets, no one cares about me, so I don't gotta care about them. So, I told them, it's not like that, the streets don't care about you, dog. I care about you, and I want you to do well. I don't want to see you fucked up, or, oops, I didn't mean to say that. Hopefully, Miss Good don't see it, but, I told him, I don't want to see you like this, bro. But I don't want to see you in this situation ever again. He he freaking showed me a gun one day on FaceTime, and I told him, dog, do you really think you need a gun? You tell me yourself, do you think you need a gun, dog? You're a man, you have your fists, you know how to box. You don't need a freaking gun, dog. And he sat there. He looked at me. He told me, yo, I just need it for my protection, bro. Like, dog, fucking a freaking cop pulls you over or stops you one day, catches that gun on you, dog. You're 16 years old. You're not supposed to be carrying a gun. On top of that, the gun is stolen. What are you gonna get hit with, dog? You're gonna go to jail, and I don't want to see you in jail. The following month, my cousin falls. He gets in an argument with his family. He pulls out a gun, and he goes to jail. And me being the caring person I am, I put money down for his lawyer. I put money down for his bail. So I can see him again. I did not want to see him in jail anymore. And when he finally did come out, I was the first person he called. He told me, Nolan, that was the realest thing you ever done. You know, I never had someone care that much about me. I never had someone think about me in that way about me, dog. And when I found out that you did all this stuff for me, I was like dumbfounded. I never had anyone care about me enough to even think about getting bail, or to even think about getting a good lawyer. I thought I was gonna be in there for the rest of my life. And I told him, bro, people need, everyone needs someone, and it was obvious that my cousin didn't have anyone close to him to care about him. So I put myself in that situation, where I wanted him to know, I care about you, dog, and I don't want to see you in jail again. I don't want to see you down again. I want to see you up. You know, you could be in the worst situation in the world, dog. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the listener. You could be in a bet. You could be in the worst situation in the world. That should not change the fact for you to change your goals. Your goals should always be positive. Your goals should always be to progress. You shouldn't want less. You shouldn't settle for less. You should always strive for more. You could be in the most messed up situation. Your parents could sell drugs or whatever. You can be really messed up or whatever. But that doesn't change the fact that you're you. No one's gonna change that. No one's ever gonna say, "Oh, yeah, I walked in your shoes," because you walked in your own shoes. And if the listener right now, if you've been through something so bad, or your life wasn't necessarily the easiest, don't hold your life as a reason. Don't hold it. Say, "Oh, it's because of this. I'm like this, yo." If you're going to something right now, man, use it. Use it for your own advantage. Say, yeah, you know, I've been through this. So when you're in the future, you understand, yeah, I already went through it. I could deal with it. At least today I'm a stronger person than I was yesterday. Never let something that you're going through. This could go through. This can go for a breakup. This can go for being homeless. It can even go for you have a low grade. Just be like, yeah, all right. I got a low grade and I know I can do better, bro. You just gotta believe in yourself, and believing in yourself is all that it takes. Before you do anything in this world, you gotta believe in yourself and you gotta love yourself. You gotta understand, things don't necessarily happen to always be your downfall. And I hold this saying really close to me. I feel like God gives his hardest battles to the strong of his people, and obviously his hardest battles, you know, his hardest battles could be simply you fighting an addiction, or you fighting your own self. If you can get through it and you don't give up, you're considered a strong person. But if you give up and you think nothing's worth it anymore, and you just give up, you're you're not that strong, man. But you can be strong. You just gotta, even if you're down, you can always get back up. But if you're down and you're down and you stay down, I don't know what to say to you, man. Just get up, man. Strive for the best and never give up. This is life isn't necessarily the best, but I always hope for the best, and I always pray for the best. So I hope that everyone that listened to this whole thing, you know, got something out of it. I hope someone, if I can help at least one person, I'm happy with that. I just hope that someone out there that listens to this podcast can understand, that you're not alone in this stuff, and if you wanna, if you need to talk to somebody, you can always hit me up. You can always, and I'll talk to you. If you need a personal advice, I'll talk to you. But what can I say? Man, find something that makes you genuinely happy. Find something whether it's music, games, art, whatever it is, find it and make sure it makes you happy, and then pursue that. Always be sure to pursue something, because when you have nothing to chase, you just sit there, do nothing, don't achieve nothing. What's the point? If you're not chasing something, what's the point? Chase something, thrive to be better, and never settle for less. Never, how you say, be complacent with what you have right now. Obviously, be grateful, but never settle. Always want more. Always work for more, and you'll get more. This is my name's Nolan, and this is my Let's Talk. Hope you guys have a wonderful night or morning. Yeah, bye.